Well, welcome to the Virginia predator hunting woods. We're out here in the National Forest, and it's the fall of 2024. We're here in late November, and our rifle season has begun. So, given the laws of having to use blaze orange when you're in the woods hunting, I generally don't do any daytime hunting during this time of the year. Of course, I primarily hunt national forest for predators. And the good news is bobcat season is in now, so that's exciting. You got a chance at one of those. And depending on the areas I'm hunting, that is going to affect how I'd go about calling. I'm more than likely not going to use any kind of coyote vocalizations during the course of a set. But yeah, we took a little break in mid to late October. I usually go up to uh, Lake Erie, do some steelhead fishing. So had a couple weekends I had to get ready for that, tie some flies, and pack some gear. And this year my brother went along, got him on some steelhead. So got back in early November. We've been out a couple times. I'm pretty sure I had a cat coming in on one set, and had a mountain biker mess that one up. So this is the trials and tribulations that you'll find in the National Forest here in Virginia. Of course, I'm located in and near the Shenandoah Valley, and I primarily do my hunting in those areas where I can get on national forest. Uh, One of the things that kind of happens when you're getting closer to muzzleloader season, which is in early November, the coyotes are encountering more and more people out here in the woods. They become a little less vocal for a period, and it could be that they're less vocal, or all the hunters and the hunting pressure are moving them out into areas that I'm not used to seeing them at. Maybe they're heading back down to the farmland for a little bit. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today is there's two aspects to what I wanted to talk about. One is early season. You've got a lot of leaves on the trees. You can be a little more aggressive with the volume of your calls. You're dealing with fewer people in the woods, although the human activity is upticking. It's not at the height like it is in muzzleloader and rifle season, and soon to be bear season. So uh, you're going to be able to locate coyotes more often. But once all the muzzleloader and rifle hunters start hitting the woods in early November, there's a lot of cars parked at every access point. There's just people all through the woods. And on private land, this is a very good time to be vocalizing. In the mountains, it's a very good time to quiet things down. With the leaves being off the trees now, your sound's going to carry a little further. So you don't want to make real loud sounds. It's going to be more important to you to get closer to where you think those coyotes are, and use more realistic sounds. I would say one thing I would like to point out is the mute button on your call is probably the best call that you have when you're hunting these mountain coyotes. The reason I say that is I've hunted these mountains my whole life, and I've been in a tree stand or a bow blind or something where everything's quiet, and all of a sudden a bird of prey swoops in and grabs a squirrel on a limb, or something like that. And the distress sounds that you hear are very shrill, very sharp, but they do not last long. They're over before you know it. Occasionally, if a bird of prey lands on a squirrel on a limb and grabs him, which is sometimes what happens. Sometimes the squirrel jumps off the limb and the bird catches him on the ground. But the point is, it's over pretty quick. The few exceptions to that is when the claws haven't done the job, and it's needing a beak or something to kind of finish the animal off. And I've seen and heard that, and that whole episode lasts probably, for sure, under 10 to 12 maybe 20 seconds, and everything is done with. So when you come out here in the mountains and you turn the call on and let it run for 3 minutes, it's just not natural. It's not something that they're accustomed to hearing, and because a lot of people do it, they're going to associate that sound with predator, hunter, some other interaction that they came in on, got downwind of, realized it wasn't real. That's gonna associate to their mind that this is not a real thing, and you're gonna educate more coyotes than you are kill more coyotes. So it's important when you're calling to use your mute button fairly judiciously while you're calling. And you can turn that call on. I will say this: the one exception is birds. Birds are up off the ground. The sound carries really far. Birds tend to get agitated and stay agitated for a while. They're often traveling together, so you might have one bird getting attacked, and the other birds are flying around freaking out. So really use your bird sounds in the mountains. That's the one critter in the mountains that it's not uncommon to hear going nuts for a while. But you're just not going to. We do have mountain rabbits here in this area, particularly the area I'm in now. There are these mountain rabbits, and they are lean and mean. They're not like these rabbits you see in your backyard in town. These things look like a jackrabbit almost. They're not that big, but they're very lean, very tall, very wiry, and they are quick, and they're very smart. But rabbits, although it's a good prey item, birds are really a big thing to what goes on out here in the woods. Particularly the type of birds we have. Woodpeckers just go on these rants that when something's going on, like a bobcat's walking through, or something like that, they're going to light up for a while. So it's not uncommon for birds to be freaking out about something. So sometimes I start with a bird, and then I might switch over to a squirrel distress or a rabbit distress. But I'm not just going to let it play. I'm going to turn it on and let it go for 10 seconds. Maybe play with the volume during that 10 seconds. Play with the pitch. Then I'm going to mute it. I'm going to wait a few seconds. And then I might turn it back on for 2 or 3 seconds and drop it back off. And wait. And turn it back on and drop it back off. And then I might wait 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And then maybe I'll throw in a pup whimper or something to indicate that something's still going on. Whatever's doing the killing might be struggling. And then I might throw a little bit more of the critter in. All of that is trying to build a scenario at a noise level that I'm fairly certain will reach into the thicket I'm calling to where they'll hear it, pique their interest, and then I'm going to get quiet, and I'm not going to call anymore. I like to do this because it's more realistic. So you're using your mute button, not just to turn the call off, but to add in realistic pauses to your set. And particularly when you're calling for coyotes. Now, when you're calling for bobcat, if you're in an area and you want to do a bobcat set, it's probably a little more important that you let the thing run. But I wouldn't just do a hour-long rabbit distress. Don't let the rabbit, when have you ever known a rabbit to be in distress for an hour? Rabbits are really easy to kill from a bird standpoint, from a bobcat standpoint, from a fox standpoint, coyote, whatever's doing that killing. It does not take much to kill a rabbit. I mean, you can pretty much kick a rabbit in the head and kill it with your foot. So, but you might have a bird distress going on, like a blue jay's up there giving something to business. Well, it's not uncommon for a blue jay to be freaking out for 20, 30 minutes as a bobcat's sneaking through the territory. So use your bird sounds and things like that, particularly when you're bobcat hunting, because they love to eat birds. But number two, it keeps their attention. And then maybe halfway through, 20 minutes in, maybe I might throw in a squirrel or a rabbit distress and get it loud, pitch it up in volume, bring it back down, die it off with pitch, and then have the birds mixed in. some of your calls you can play 2 sounds at once. and so I really enjoy I use bird sounds probably more often than not when I'm in the mountains. When I'm in the mountains and I'm hunting fields, bald tops, long clearings, or even like power lines where you have big grassy power line cutouts, gas lines, I will use rabbit calls in those areas. If it's in an area where I know rabbits are a significant prey item, then I might even go in and just use a rabbit distress. But the point is, on the national forest, there's so much human activity out here that the animals are automatically, whether it's bobcat or coyote, their guard is going to be up. So you have to build realism into your sets. And the way I do that is with pauses and with changes in volume and changes in pitch. And then lastly, it's good to have a preset on your call that's one of the rodent or small little critters, small little birds, something like that, that's set at a much quieter volume that you can just switch over to with a push of one button. If you've got an animal coming in and it's trying to skirt you and it's stopping and looking, but it's out at 100 yards, sometimes hitting that one little squeaker, you might call it a squeaker, a titmouse, something little, something fairly quiet, something like that, sometimes will make the animal turn and come, especially if it's a prey item that they're accustomed to, like small rodents and small birds. They're not going to do that with a groundhog, probably, or a raccoon fight or something like that. Another good one is having some sort of a pup or canine distress that's quiet, also as a preset, because you might try that little titmouse real quiet to draw them in if you see them going downwind of you and you don't have a shot, or use that pup distress to make them turn the corner and come right for you. So those are a couple tips that I hope you find helpful. Use your mute button. Try not to just let the call run, even on a bobcat set. If you're going to do that, have it be bird sounds, and you'll have a little more success. Get away from just relying on your favorite rabbit sound. Even though you've called animals in and killed them, they will get highly accustomed to those rabbit calls, because most of the calls that come preset with rabbit calls, there's not a lot of the play time of the cadence. You might have 18 seconds of sounds that aren't the same, and then it replays and the same 18 seconds goes through. If you just let that run and run and run, those smarter coyotes and stuff will pick up on that and know that it's not real. So play around with your sounds. Most of your better calls that are in the $400 to $600 range are going to come with 100 sounds. That's more than enough to get started with out here on the National Forest. And so that's how I go about it. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Wish you the best. Be safe. If you're hunting the National Forest this time of year, you want to make sure you pay attention to the game laws. Right now it's rifle season. I'm not doing any daytime hunting because I'd have to be wearing blaze orange. So, and you have to be careful. Some of the areas that you have to hunt may not allow nighttime hunting during rifle season, so you have to be careful. I made it a range day, went to the range. I'll be cleaning my gun later on, doing kind of a mid-season tune-up and getting ready for things to calm down after deer season and get out there and get it back after the coyotes. So another tip, I don't do a lot of locating this time of year because there's so many people in the woods. I don't want to educate other people into knowing where my coyotes, the coyotes I'm hunting, I don't want other people to really know where they're at. So I don't do any locating this time of year in case those deer hunters are still coming out of the woods, because it just educates other people on where the coyotes are, and then you're going to have competition. So it's a time of year in rifle season, muzzleloader, to just take a break from doing locating Try to do your locating in August and get your packs located. Now, I will tell you this, they move around a good bit this time of year. Dispersal's already been happening, and early season coming out of the summer, coyotes are generally going to yard up in the same place after place, day after day, week after week. You can go in there every weekend in August and find them in the same spot. They'll answer you. When dispersal kicks off in October, coyotes are really moving around a lot more. You might locate this group of coyotes here, and the next weekend they're 4 to 6 miles over there yarding up. So that's something to keep in mind. It becomes more important this time of year, late in the year, to locate and hunt those coyotes. Don't locate and think, well, they'll be here tomorrow again. They probably won't be. They'll probably be a mile down the ridge yarding up. There's so much human activity, they kind of get bumped around and they yard up here and they yard up there. So if you're going to go out and hunt them or locate them, be prepared with red lights on your gun to go ahead and make a move on those coyotes and go ahead and try to hunt them that night. I'll get into some nighttime calling tips and tricks. It's not real successful in the mountains, but there is a way to go about doing it, and I'll make that for another video. But anyhow, that's all I got for now. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll get some more coyotes on the ground and have some good days of field where we can get on them. So hope that's true for you as well. Thank you and have a good day.